Hello and welcome back to another of our 150 days in the Psalms. Today we are in Psalm 50. And while most of the Psalms, they are prayers from God's people to him. They're kind of they're words from God's people to God. This Psalm is interesting because actually it's God, not the other Psalms are interesting. This is God speaking to his people. It's God speaking to his people, and his message is pretty simple. It's this. It's will you honor me? Will you honor me with your whole life, not just with kind of religion, not just with sacrifices or worship, but will you honor me with all of your lives? And that's what we're reading this morning. Psalm 50. I'll read and paraphrase as we go through it, and then what I want us to do as we pray is ask God that question. We say, God, where can I follow you in complete obedience? Where can I follow you with kind of my whole life as worship, not just with kind of words or sacrifices or kind of rituals? So Psalm 50 starts with this, and with God kind of speaking. The mighty one, God, the Lord, speaks and summons the earth to God, the mighty one, the Lord, the God. This is kind of all of his kind of divine names, and he speaks and he gathers the earth together. He calls the earth and he says, earth and heavens, come here. Can you go get my people for me? I need to have a word with them. Verse 5, gather to me my consecrated ones, the ones who made a covenant with me by sacrifice. He says, come on, get the people of Israel, get my people together, bring them to me. And then he speaks to his people. Hear, O my people, verse 7. Hear, O my people, and I will speak, O Israel, and I will testify against you. I am God, your God. I do not rebuke you for your sacrifices or your burnt offerings, which are ever before me. God says, look, I don't have a problem. Come here. I don't have a problem with your sacrifices. Look, I'm not going to have a go at you for your sacrifices. In fact, I'm getting them all the time. You're not messing up there. He said, look, I don't need another bull. That's not really what I'm after. God says, he says, if I was hungry, would I not have told you, for the whole world is mine and all that's in it? God says, look, I made the whole of creation. I don't need you to bring me another bull, another cow to sacrifice it as though I was hungry and kind of had run out of food to eat. God says, look, I've got enough of your sacrifices. But see, what I really want is this. This is verse 14. Sacrifice thanks offerings to God. Fulfill your vows to the Most High. Call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you, and you will honor me. God says this. He said, look, more than just a kind of some ritual or some sacrifices that you're bringing to me. And for us, as we think about it, we don't offer sacrifices, but we do still worship God, and we do that through song or through prayer. God says, I don't just need another one of those empty rituals. Instead, what I want is thanks offerings. I want you to bring your thanks to me, bring your kind of the reality of your life to me. Fulfill your vows to the Most High. This is verse 14. Kind of live a life of faithfulness towards me. Those things that kind of I have called you, the way in which I've called you to live, I want you to live that way. Call upon me in the day of trouble. Come, I want a relationship with you. I want you to depend on me, and I will deliver you, God says, and you will honor me. So God says, I want a relationship with you where it's a relationship of thanks and praise, where it's a relationship of dependency, where it's a relationship where you honor me, where you follow me, where you live a life of faithfulness, and I will deliver you. I will be your God, God says. God says, look, I don't just want an empty thing, empty sacrifice, an empty worship. He says, because actually you the rest of the time, and this is kind of verse kind of 16 to 21, God kind of, he says, I see all these kind of the way in which you're living, and you're kind of you're thieves, you're liars, you're living lives of adultery, you're slandering each other, you're speaking ill of each other. God says, I don't want that. I don't want sacrifices if then the rest of your life you're going to live like that. I want a life of obedience. I want a life of worship. And so my prayer to us, perhaps there's a prayer of confession. God, I realize that sometimes I just live a life where I go through the motions, I go through a ritual, I switch my psalm on in the morning, because that's what I do. I watch the YouTube service at 10:30, but then the rest of my life, how am I living? Am I living a life of faithfulness? Am I honoring God and loving others? Am I living a life of thanks to him, of praise to him, and worship in all that I do? That's the prayer. And God, and my prayer is probably a confession for where I'm not doing that well. and then ask for help. God, would you help me to live a life of faithfulness towards you, live a life of love, where I'm honoring you and loving others.